The night begins wrapped in wealth. A rooftop restaurant floating above the city where glass walls glitter and soft jazz hums like a promise that nothing ugly belongs here. Crystal glasses clink. Laughter travels easily. Money has a sound. And tonight it speaks loudly. Servers move quickly, trained to disappear. Among them is a black waitress.com/precise, unremarkable to everyone who believes service means invisibility. Then a chair scrapes, a voice cuts through the music, sharp and entitled. A millionaire is annoyed. Something about a delay. Something about disrespect. He stands towering, dressed in confidence and certainty. Before anyone can understand what's happening, his foot snaps out. A kick, not a shove. A kick meant to remind her of her place. Her body stumbles but does not fall. The sound of impact lands heavier than the jazz ever could. The room freezes. Forks hover mid. Conversations die in their throats. Phones appear instinctively, as if the moment demands witnesses. No one intervenes. Silence wraps itself around the violence and cools its sophistication. The millionaire smirks, already rehearsing the justification in his head. He expects tears, he expects apology, he expects fear. This is how power usually works. But when the waitress straightens, something doesn't fit the script. Her face remains still. Her breathing slows. Her eyes lift, steady and unreadable, carrying a weight that doesn't belong to this room. For a split second, the billionaire's confidence flickers. He laughs it off, louder than necessary, scanning the crowd for approval. A few nervous chuckles answered him. Management hesitates, calculating costs. This is how systems reveal themselves, not in speeches but in pauses. Who matters? Who doesn't? The waitress says nothing. That silence is louder than a scream. It unsettles him. He steps closer, invading her space, expecting her to shrink. She doesn't. There was no anger in her expression, only control. The kind learned, not inherited. The kind earned far from rooftop views and champagne. Around them, the air thickens. Viewers at home would later describe the moment as electric. The second they knew something was wrong with the story they were being shown. Comment sections would ask the same questions at once. Who is she? Why isn't she reacting? Why does the man who just kicked her suddenly look unsure of himself? Because somewhere beneath the music, beneath the money, beneath the comfort of believing violence only flows one way, a truth has surfaced. This woman is not what they think she is. And as the billionaire opens his mouth again, unaware of the line he's about to cross, the room edges toward a moment that will not be forgotten. The city skyline watches through glass, indifferent and glowing, while history quietly lines itself up behind her. Every second stretches, every breath feels counted. The crowd senses it now, the way animals sense a storm before the sky breaks. This is no longer dinner. This is a threshold, and once crossed, there will be no returning to the comfort of pretending nothing happened. Not tonight. Not here. Ever. The millionaire doesn't step back. He leans in. Power rarely retreats when it believes it's protected. He laughs again, louder, crueler, performing confidence for the room. His words drip with mockery now, stretched syllables, exaggerated tone. He mimics her voice, twists her accent into a joke, turns her job into an insult. Serving, he says, is all some people are good for. The sentence hangs in the air like smoke, choking, deliberate. The waitress remains still. Her hands rest calmly at her sides. Inside she counts her breath. In 4-4, hold out for 6. Discipline anchors her where emotion once lived. She has learned that reaction is what predators crave. Control is what starves them. Her mind flickers with memories she keeps locked away. Early mornings, bruised knuckles, instructors who demanded. Silence before strength, scars earned where no one offered applause. She does not see a millionaire. She sees an untrained man relying on noise. Around them, the room chooses comfort over courage. A couple near the window pretends to study the skyline. A man at the bar suddenly finds his drink fascinating. This is how cruelty survives, not through fists alone, but through avoidance. Management hovers nearby, whispering urgently, eyes starting between the man's expensive watch and the woman he just kicked. They calculate revenue, reviews, reputations. Dignity does not appear on their spreadsheets. The millionaire senses their hesitation and feeds on it. He snaps his fingers, demands attention. He wants her fired. Now, publicly. He wants witnesses. He wants the satisfaction of watching authority bend to his wallet. He says she should be grateful to be here at all. He says people like her are replaceable. Each word sharpens the imbalance he believes is permanent. She meets his gaze, finally, fully, not with anger, with clarity. The kind that unsettles bullies because it refuses to beg. In her eyes, there is no submission, only assessment. The man falters for half a beat, then covers it with a sneer. He steps closer again, invading her space, using proximity as a weapon. He assumes she will shrink. She does not. At a corner table, a young woman tilts her phone pretending to text. The camera is rolling. The red dot is small, almost invisible, but history has learned to grow from such details. Online, the first viewers stumble into the stream, accidentally. Comments appear slowly at first. What is happening? Did he just kick her? Is anyone going to stop this? The digital crowd begins to gather, curious, outraged. Awake. The millionaire continues, emboldened by the room's silence. He lectures now about respect, about how money works, about knowing one's place. He confuses dominance with authority, volume with truth. Each sentence is a reminder of a system that taught him consequences are negotiable. He does not see the shift happening around him. He does not hear the music stop. He does not notice how the silence has changed, no longer passive, but tense, waiting. The waitress feels it, the tightening air, the moment approaching. She knows this edge well. She has stood on it before, where restraint becomes a choice rather than a reflex. She tells herself to stay still, to let the world reveal itself. But the man leans closer still and lowers his voice, sharp and poisonous, promising to ruin her life with a single call. That threat lands differently. It is not just loud. It is deliberate. It is public. And as it echoes across the room and into the waiting phones, even silence begins to crack. The threat lands, and something ancient settles into her spine. She exhales once, slow and deliberate, and finally speaks. Her voice is quiet, almost gentle, but it cuts through the room. She tells him to let go. He doesn't. He grabs her arm harder, fingers digging in, shoving her sideways as if proving a point. That is the moment restraint stops being mercy and becomes permission. The shift is instant, almost invisible to the untrained eye. There is no scream, no warning, no wild movements. Her body turns with economy, guided by muscle memory carved through years of discipline. She breaks his grip, steps inside his balance, and redirects his weight like it belongs to her. The millionaire gasps, confused, the sound of certainty leaving his chest. Before his mind catches up, his knees buckle. He hits the floor hard, not dramatically, just final. For a second, no one breathes. Then the restaurant explodes. Chairs scrape, glasses shatter, someone screams his name. Bones rise higher, no longer hiding. Security rushes forward too late, hands hovering, unsure who the threat even is. The waitress steps back, releasing him as calmly as she took him down. Her face is steady, her breathing controlled. There is no triumph in her eyes, only resolve. The millionaire groans, clutching his shoulder. His world suddenly rearranged. Someone whispers that she could have killed him. Another voice answers that she chose not to. In fragments, her story spills out. Years in elite combat, training, competitions that demanded restraint as much as force, lessons drilled into bone about control, responsibility, and when to stop. She walked away from it all, choosing anonymity, choosing peace. Tonight was never about proving strength. It was about ending disrespect. Outside the room, the internet ignites. Clips race across platforms, replayed from every angle. Names, trend, hashtags, bloom. Sides are chosen in real time. Some call her a hero, others call her dangerous. Millions watch the same seconds and see completely different truths. Inside the restaurant, sirens grow louder, threading urgency through the chaos. The waitress stands alone now, hands visible, posture relaxed, waiting. She knows what comes next. So does the man on the floor. Power has limits, and tonight, one of them has been reached. The question is not what she did, but who the system will decide to protect. As blue lights begin to paint the windows, the city holds its breath. Everything after this will be judged, edited, argued, and monetized. But the truth of the moment is already set. A man used power to harm. A woman used discipline to stop it. And now the world must decide which story it wants to tell. The sirens close in, louder, undeniable. Doors open, authority enters, and control shifts again. Eyes turn from the fallen millionaire to the woman who stood her ground. No one is sure what justice will look like tonight. They only know the silence has been broken, and it will not be put back together easily outside. Comments multiply faster than facts. Inside, the cost of power is finally being counted. The waitress lifts her chin, not in defiance, but in certainty. She knows who she is, even if the world does not yet. The millionaire stares upward, stunned, realizing money cannot rewind this moment. Tonight exposed a fault line that cannot be unseen. Every witness feels it, whether they admit it or not. This was never just about a kick. It was about who gets believed when violence wears a suit, and who gets punished when resistance refuses to bow. The approaching footsteps signal judgment. None answers. Everything balances on what happens next. The woman waits, composed, while the city prepares to choose sides. Some will demand punishment. Others will demand accountability. Few will understand the difference as the first officer steps forward. The future narrows to a single decision. Justice stands at a crossroads, exposed and watching. What happens next will echo far beyond this rooftop. It will test whether restraint is criminalized and entitlement excused. The sirens stop. Silence returns, heavier than before. In that quiet, a nation leans forward, waiting to see who the law will hear and who it will silence. The answer is coming, not from the floor but from the system itself. Tonight has drawn the line, and everyone is standing on one side or the other. The world will soon argue about force, but the deeper question is about power. Who holds it, and who dares to refuse it? As lights flash and cameras roll, the reckoning begins. No one inside this story will leave unchanged. The silence has chosen a side, and the consequences are about to arrive. They always do. Tonight just made them unavoidable. The question now belongs to everyone watching. Will restraint be punished, or will privilege finally be exposed? The answer waits with the sirens outside, and it will not whisper. It will speak loudly for all to hear, especially those who thought money made them untouchable. Tonight proved otherwise. History is watching. The police arrive with practiced authority, blue lights washing over glass and privilege alike. The room rearranges itself around uniforms, conversations hush. Cameras sharpen their focus. The millionaire is helped into a chair, already rehearsing the role he knows best. Richter points, shaking, describing fear, exaggerating force, insisting he was attacked without reason. His voice trembles just enough to sound believable too. Systems trained to listen to men like him. Within minutes, the story fractures. News alerts ping across screens. Headlines race each other to define the moment. Some call her violent, others call her brave. Pundits argue before facts exist. A familiar pattern emerges, one the audience recognizes instantly. When power is challenged, confusion becomes a weapon. The waitress stands quietly, hands folded, eyes forward, watching the machine begin to turn. Lawyers appear almost magically, suits crisp, words polished. They surround the millionaire, whispering strategy, reminding him of influence, donations, favors owed. Old power stretches, testing its reach. The implication is clear without being spoken. This will go away. It always does. Across the room, officers exchange glances, aware of the imbalance yet trained to deny it. This is how protection disguises itself as procedure. Then the footage drops. Not a clip, not an angle, the full uncut video. It spreads faster than spin ever could. Every second is visible. The kick, the mocking, the threat, the grab, the restraint. Viewers watch the pause where she could have destroyed him and chose not to. Witnesses come forward, emboldened by clarity. Staff members speak. Diners testify. The silence that once protected wealth evaporates. Experts weigh in, calmly dismantling the lie. Medical professionals explain what trained force looks like. They describe the difference between harm and control. They say, plainly, that the man on the floor survived because she allowed him to. Training records surface, not as trophies, but as evidence of discipline. The narrative begins to tilt, slowly, unmistakably, away from entitlement. As attention sharpens, the millionaire's past refuses to stay buried. Old settlements resurface. Former employees tell stories that sound hauntingly familiar. Patterns emerge, ugly and undeniable. Money used to silence. Power used to threaten. Each revelation chips away at the mask he's worn for years. The public mood shifts from curiosity to recognition. This isn't an incident. It's a system finally caught on camera. Online. The conversation explodes into something bigger than the restaurant. People argue, reflect, remember. Black women share stories of restraint mistaken for weakness. Immigrants speak about accents, mocked, dignity questioned. Allies amplify voices long ignored. The waitress becomes a symbol not because she asked to be, but because the moment demanded one. She stands for control in a world addicted to dominance. Inside the legal process, tension tightens. Prosecutors review evidence again, slower now. Officers adjust their posture. The certainties that once surrounded the millionaire thins. Authority senses the ground shifting beneath it. This is the dangerous part for old power. When public clarity threatens private deals, decisions that were once automatic now feel exposed. And just when it seems a system might still find a way to protect wealth, a quiet announcement ripples outward. Charges are being reconsidered. The room stills. The narrative pauses. For the first time, consequence feels possible. The question is no longer what happened, but whether the law is willing to see it. Charges are dropped quietly, without spectacle, and the room that once buzzed with outrage exhales. The waitress listens, nods once, and feels no rush of victory. Justice arrives without applause, and that is enough. Across town, the millionaire's narrative collapses. Assault charges stand. Civil suits follow. Brands issue statements and disappear. Partnerships dissolve overnight. and an empire built on noise learns what silence costs. He posts an apology that reads like a contract. It convinces no one. Screenshots of old behavior circulate beside fresh testimony. Boardrooms distance themselves. Friends become cautious. Influence shrinks. The law does not roar. It grinds forward, steady in public. Consequence replaces entitlement, not dramatically, but undeniably. She does not stay for interviews. Cameras search for a smile and find only composure. She clocks out, walks into the street, and chooses anonymity over commentary. This city keeps moving. She blends into it by design. Peace, she knows, is not cowardice. It is the reward of restraint. Fame would cheapen the lesson. Quiet preserves it. The ripples spread anyway. Workers recognize themselves in her stillness and speak up, newly certain that evidence matters. Self-defense laws trend, debated with nuance rarely afforded to the vulnerable. Experts explain boundaries. Advocates demand clarity. Women, especially black women, see a reflection long denied and name it dignity. The conversation changes tone. It slows. It listens. The internet, restless as ever, looks for a new villain and a new hero. She refuses both roles. Her power was never performance. It was choice. Comment sections argue about force and fear, but a simpler truth survives the noise. Strength does not announce itself. It waits, measured, until it must act, and then it stops. In court filings and classroom discussions, her restraint becomes a case study. What could have happened matters less than what didn't. Control saved lives. Discipline prevented tragedy. The line between defense and domination is drawn with care, and the public learns why it matters who holds the pen. The Millionaire fades from headlines into footnotes. Money remains, but gravity returns. Doors open slower. Names carry weight. He learns the cost of confusing privilege with permission. The lesson is permanent because it is ordinary. Systems can change when watched closely. They change faster when courage meets proof. She keeps living. Morning light, work done well. Breath, counted. The past stays past. What remains is a standard, quietly set, for how power should be answered. Not with spectacle, not with surrender, with clarity. That night did not crown a champion or destroy a man. It exposed a choice the world keeps avoiding. When harm demands submission, restraint can answer without becoming harm itself. Silence can carry truth farther than shouting ever could. And in that truth, dignity stands unbent, teaching us what control really means. It becomes a mirror held to institutions that prefer shortcuts. Policies are revisited. Training changes. Cameras are welcomed rather than feared. The standard shifts from loyalty to accountability. For a moment, procedure serves people instead of protecting power, and the audience recognizes the difference. She receives letters she never reads aloud. Gratitude from strangers. Confessions from those who stayed silent too long. She keeps them folded. Reminders that impact does not require proximity. The work continues quietly, where change actually lives. Years from now, the clip will resurface in classrooms and late-night debates, stripped of outrage and studied for principle. The lesson will endure because it is practical. Restraint scales, it travels, it teaches. Some will insist the outcome was luck. Others will say the system worked as designed. Both miss the point. This design improves when challenged. Luck favors those prepared to choose control. The rest is accountability. Shared. In the end, nothing about her needed permission. Not her dignity, not her restraint, not her future. Power learnt its limit because it met one, and that limit was human. The city moves on, but standards linger. Viewers close the app, changed in small ways that matter. They watch authority more closely. They speak sooner. They record carefully. They believe evidence. This is how culture shifts, inch by inch. The story ends without fireworks because real victories rarely announce themselves. They settle into habits. They outlast outrage. They protect the next person who refuses to bow. That is the echo she leaves behind, steady and transferable. Silence, chosen with care, becomes language. Control becomes freedom. It asks nothing and demands everything. Attention, fairness, humility, and the courage to stop when stopping is right, even if power insists otherwise. That lesson endures beyond headlines, courts, brands, and trending cycles.